everyone. Welcome to our last session for our 9B course. This is our week 6 session this week. This week we are doing some review for the different exams we have in our class. One of the exams you will have in just a couple lessons towards the end of the course is a writing exam. So we're going to be talking today about the different ways to prepare for that exam and how to use an outline. So our objective is to develop and utilize an outline in an on-demand essay situation, like a writing exam. So a lot of students say to me, oh, I don't use an outline when I take a writing exam because it takes up too much time. So my argument to you in that respect is that if you do take the time to outline your ideas and develop your ideas into an outline, your essay will end up being more succinct and more well organized, and it will be better developed because you're going to take the time to think about the different ideas that you have and how you want to present them. And then the outline will help you have a very fluid and a very straightforward writing process when you are taking that exam. So our goal today is to talk about different test-taking strategies where a written exam is concerned, and then how to implement and utilize that outline. All right, so we're going to get started with the lesson portion of the video. Before we do that, I want to remind you that you need to take the quiz. It's just after the video, and to access the quiz, you will need a code. The first two letters of that code are C and A, the letter C and the letter A. So I want you to write those down for me now so you aren't searching for the letters later on after the video is over. First two letters are C and is an example of a prompt that we would be addressing in an on-demand situation that is argumentative in nature. So we're going to take a look at this prompt and determine how we might go about planning for this essay. So our objective, as I mentioned, is to develop and utilize an outline for an on-demand essay. Now, you might not be as in-depth with your outline, and you might not have it fleshed out to the same point you would if you were working on this at home. But an outline or a sketch of an outline will give you direction when you are planning an on-demand essay. And when we're writing, whatever comes into our head, having an idea in front of us will allow us to plan those arguments more fully and with more thought. So this is based off of the prompt from your writing exam. This is not the prompt from your writing exam, but this is the format of the prompt from your writing exam. So this prompt states, for this writing assessment, you will write a multi-paragraph argument in which you address this prompt. Write an argument to your local health board members in which you argue in favor of a new rule requiring all children to be vaccinated or against that new rule. Support your claim with reasons and evidence. In your argument, use information from one or both of the lists provided. So in an on-demand essay such as this, you will be given information to use as your support and evidence. So you don't need to go do outside research for the essay. You will be able to use the information provided for you in the course. So provided for you in the course will be information on, well, for example, if this were your prompt, you would be provided information on the pros and cons of vaccinating or not vaccinating, and you would be given evidence to support vaccination or to support being against vaccination. So you would utilize the information given to you to base your argument off of. So you're going to plan your writing, you're going to determine your claim, what evidence are you going to use from the provided pro and con lists that you can use to support your ideas, and then you're going to write your argument. So this is what is very important when we're looking at outlining and developing an essay for this type of prompt. Obviously, we want to pay attention to this because this is the question that we're answering in our essay, correct? Then, down here when it says write your argument, be sure to, we want to make sure that we have all of this information also in our essay. So what I would do is I would take the prompt, this one, and I would highlight it, circle it, underline it, and then I would take this part and I would, on a scratch piece of paper, I would sketch out my outline using this information. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. All right, just want to give you two more letters. They are V and E, the letter V and the letter E. So write those two down. All right, so here we are. We're going to take a look at, I forgot my A there. or my Y, excuse me. We're going to take a look at this overview of a breakdown of how you can outline in an on-demand essay. Now, in an on-demand essay, typically, if you're taking it for a state test or ACT or a test where you would go sit down and be timed on it, I recommend this option because you don't want to make an entire outline because it'll take too much of the clock, right? In our environment, in this on-demand essay, you will be doing this at home and you don't have the clock. But since you're not taking, 2 weeks to build your argument and outline and pre-write and write a rough draft, this is also helpful because it lets you succinctly identify what information is important for your essay and what you need to include. So I've taken the two parts of the prompt that I just showed you, the prompt itself, the question, and then the breakdown of what you needed to include in the essay. So here's our prompt here, what our topic is. And then these are the elements that it said that were required for the essay. And the reason I used those is to build my outline is because when we're in an on-demand situation, we want to make sure that we are identifying and addressing each element of the prompt. So when we're utilizing that portion of the prompt or the question to build our outline and then use that to write our essay, we ensure that we are including all of that information in the essay itself. So again, this is not the question that you're going to be answering in your exam, but it's an example that is similar to something that you will address in your writing exam. So again, the argument is that you need to decide if you're in favor of or against a rule or a law requiring all children to be vaccinated. So we need to develop a claim. And again, this is an outline, so it doesn't have to be the specific thesis statement that you will write in your introduction, but you need to identify, am I for or against this question? So I chose all children should be required to receive all vaccinations. Okay, so that would be my claim. My viewpoint in this argumentative essay is that vaccines should be required of all children. So when I go to write my introduction, I know exactly where I'm starting, and then I can build my thesis from that information. Second thing I need to do is include reasons to support my claim. I included from the pro and con list I was provided, I included that having a highly immunized population reduces the risk of vaccine preventable illness. So I would include that as part of my claim and as part of the reasons in my essay. So I will need to back up that identification or that claim with identification from the evidence provided to me and show how that has happened. Second, immunizing one's child keeps the child from the risk of preventable illness. Okay, so that's the purpose of the vaccine, right? To keep people from getting that preventable illness. Next, use information from one or more of the pro and con lists. So this is where we are going to get more specific. We would say, because of vaccines, diseases such as polio, mumps, measles are rare. Oh, look at that. I spelled rare with an I. What was I thinking? Typing very quickly, apparently. What I was thinking. Okay, so because of vaccines, diseases such as polio, mumps, measles are rare. So I write that down because that's the information I'm going to go back to on my pro and con list. Now on my pro and con list, there's more specific evidence that identifies just how rare they are. I don't need to include that in my outline, but I do know that I'm going to go from this outline when I'm writing my essay, and I'm going to go reference my pro and con list and identify just how rare those diseases are in the world because of vaccinations. And this will back up my claim that having a highly immunized population reduces the risk of preventable illness. Next, newborn babies receive antibodies from their mothers, but these go away, making them susceptible to illness. So again, this ties back to my immunizing one's child keeps the child from the risk of preventable illness. So again, part of my pro-con that I was given identifies this evidence. So I will revisit my evidence and identify how many newborn babies or young babies, maybe who were not vaccinated, did receive or did get sick with a preventable illness. The next is a counterclaim, and we learned through our lessons earlier on in our course that when we're writing an argumentative essay, we always want to introduce our counterclaim in our essay. And typically we do that at the end of the essay, although you can do it anywhere in the essay that you like. I typically prefer it to be at the end. So you're going to address a counterclaim. So one of the items I was given was an article about how vaccines don't cause autism, and that's one of the major arguments against vaccines. So in the pro and cons, it gives me an argument for vaccines causing autism and against. And since I chose the vaccinations being required, my counterclaim would be that vaccines cause autism. And I need to debunk that. I need to provide a rebuttal for that counterclaim, which I've done in number 5. So even though, of course, this is not enough information for me to just take and make an essay out of just these sentences, but now I know exactly what I need to put in my paragraphs and exactly what information I'm going to use to build those paragraphs. So as I write, I'm not just pulling information out of my head and writing it down as it comes. I have a specific identification of where I'd like to go with my information and where I see it heading. So then obviously I'm going to have a conclusion after my paragraph on the counterclaim and the rebuttal of the counterclaim, but I ultimately need to make sure I have all 5 of these components in my on-demand essay, because that's what the prompt asked me to do. So this is how, if I were writing an on-demand essay, I would build my outline around the prompt itself. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to you. If you have any questions or need any assistance as you prepare to take the writing exam in Unit 6, then don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm going to give you guys the last 2 letters of your access code. You should have 4 letters currently, and your last 2 are the letter R and the letter N. The letter R and the letter N. All right, let me know if you have questions.